welcome back to the SoEngage Plus podcast. This is Nikki Foster from Rural Support based in the UK. In today's episode, I will be summarising the social farming expert podcasts created by our project partners in Germany, Romania, Ireland, Spain and Poland. First up is Ireland. In their podcast, Leitrim Development Company summarises the Social Farming Ireland programme. We hear from the National Coordinator and Research Officer, who are both based within the Leitrim Development Company. We hear the background of the development towards what is now the main national programme for social farming in Ireland. Social Farming Ireland is a national office which is funded by the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine. Social Farming Ireland is based in Drumshanbo, County Leitrim, and is led by the Leitrim Development Company. It supports the development of the National Social Farming Network in collaboration with other local development companies where regional social farming development officers are based. Social Farming Ireland describes social farming as an offer of people who are socially, physically, mentally or intellectually disadvantaged the opportunity to spend time on a family farm in a healthy, supportive and inclusive environment. A person may choose to spend a fixed amount of time on the farm participating in activities they may be interested in, such as gardening, animal care, or in indoor activities such as baking bread or jam making. Social farming activities take place in a safe and supportive environment, taking into account the individual's abilities, desires, and interests. Focus always remains on encouraging participants to socialise, gain confidence, and build relationships. The farm is not a specialised treatment farm, rather it remains a typical working farm where people in need of support can benefit from relationship building through farm activities in a non-clinical environment. As well as chatting about their work supporting the farm network and research and policy, they also discuss the benefits of social farming for both participants and farmers. You can get in contact to hear more about Social Farming Ireland on their website, socialfarmingireland.ie. But in summary, Social Farming Ireland's delivery of social farming is very similar to ours in Northern Ireland. In the Germany Social Farming Expert podcast, we first hear about social agriculture and how this concept is perceived in Germany and what were initial ways of offering social farming without actually naming it. The interviewee, Victoria, mentions not only the great potential of social farming, but at the same time it having limitations with challenging economic questions for the farmer and his family business. The niche of social farming lacks political recognition and therefore any political support. There are some examples where there's been win-win situations for all, including stakeholders, the participants, the farmer, the social service provider, and the regional sustainable development. Victoria also mentions a book titled Social Farming, Soil Beyond Your Feet. It describes the effects of getting in real touch with nature, soil, plants, animals, and caring for them. This care delivers very good effects for the participants themselves. They get grounded, responsible, structured, and more self-confident. For farmers interested in the idea of social farming in Germany, willing to implement this concept, it is very important that the whole family supports the implementation and that a SWOT analysis is done as well as business planning. Even though there's a lot of great examples of social farming today in Germany, compared to other countries like Ireland or Denmark, Germany needs to catch up. From economic perspective and the perspective of an entrepreneur, it is highly important to get an exchange about how to offer successful win-win social farming over generations. The podcast concluded with an appreciation of the added value of various stakeholders within social farming, including Hofen-Leben and our SoEngage Plus project, and a objective of structuring a network united around the value of social agriculture, social farming. Similar to Germany, in Spain, social farming is a concept not well known and is generally understood as social agriculture. The term social agriculture encompasses agricultural, livestock and forestry activities with the priority of establishing social relations that contribute to the health of the communities involved. Within their podcast, they talk about new practices and the future of social farming in Spain, including new initiatives such as citizen support projects for farmers through conscious consumption or land conservation initiatives, those in which society commits itself at different levels to the preservation of the landscape and biodiversity beyond the food production. They are talking about a wide range of conservation activities and the promotion of people's relationship with nature, such as collective cleaning of the environment or the maintenance and signposting of trails. Within the podcast, they also talk about the values of social agriculture, social farming, considering the participation of citizens in agricultural environment as an objective and the health and sociability of people and their contribution to the maintenance of this environment as the ultimate goals. They also talk about where social farming is sourced from and that the sources of social agriculture are from a pure genetic point of view would be none other than society's need to find tools that facilitate sustainability and balance with the agricultural environment and health, both physical and mental, and ultimately the socialization of the individual involved. At the end of the podcast, they also talk about the added value of our SoEngage Plus project and its objective of structuring a network united around the value of social agriculture and social farming. Next up is the expert podcast from Poland. In this podcast, 3 social farmers describe their social farming delivery for seniors and people with disabilities in the northern part of Poland. The farmers highlighted the importance and great need for social farming in Poland. Loneliness, lack of perspectives, and monotony of everyday life is a common problem for seniors and disabled people. Joint activities on the farm give them reason to get out of bed every day. They are happy to spend time together doing creative things and sharing their thoughts. The social farming tell their stories of their farms and describe how an ordinary day looks on the farm. They divide the schedule of work between different activities. They prepare meals together, do gardening, walking, visit forests and lakes. They also learn how to do preserves from fruits, bouquets of flowers, and how to dry herbs. The farmers describe that it takes a lot of energy to deliver social farming, but the happiness and development of the people who come to the farm makes it all worthwhile. The problem, similar to other countries, is the lack of funds. Seniors and people with disabilities cannot afford to pay for the activities on the farm themselves. At the end of the podcast, the 3 farmers discussed that it's not difficult to start social farming, and when they started they were afraid, but they had the opportunity to see social farming in Europe and they got inspired. They now eagerly share their experience and encourage everybody to consider starting a social farm as they see the need for this kind of social support within Poland. The final social farming expert podcast is from Romania, where a farmer is interviewed who is also the deputy in the county council and responsible for the agricultural sector. In this interview, it was pointed out that the region has a long tradition in agriculture and you can find many family-owned farms and the area is not heavily industrialised. Although having a long tradition in farming, people, again, are not so familiar with the concept of social farming yet. It was suggested within the interview that the transition to social farming is not a difficult one to make, but because farmers are very hospitable and they usually receive a lot of unexpected tourists because of the various hiking and trekking routes that pass near their farms. The farmers only need instructions and examples of good practice to motivate and help them see the benefits of social farming. With the area described also being an important tourist hub of the country, the interviewee thinks that social farming goes hand in hand with tourism, and both the farmers and businesses operating in tourism could massively benefit from this relationship. It would be of great help for people with disabilities and other social difficulties to find a welcoming place to work and spend time. The interviewee sees a bright future for social farming in his area, the local government offering total support for farmers in the upcoming years, both by providing information and funding. That concludes our summary podcast. I hope that you found it useful. If you would like to find out more about our project, you can do so on our website at www.soengage.eu.